Okay, we'll get started. Thank you for coming to City Council meeting tonight. We appreciate all of you in attendance. We're getting really close to having a room that can fit this many people, and this is not it. But City Manager Seth let me know. What did you count? How many chairs in there? 80. In the new one? 80. You can fit 80 chairs in the new one. So, sorry, Travis. 80 chairs in the new one. So that's going to be quite the upgrade from packing us in here. But we'll try to do that in May. We will get started with, like we always start our council meetings, with a prayer motivational message and then a pledge. And Councilman Cardin had the motivational message today.
Yeah, so tonight I've asked Brad Tanner to speak to us. So Brad, I'll have you come on up.
All right. I don't know about being a first person. That's a little bit intimidating. My motivational message is out of a book from John C. Maxwell, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. This is the 10th law, the law of connection. Leaders touch a heart before they ask for a hand. There are incidents in the lives and careers of leaders that become defining moments for their leadership. In the perception of followers, the general public, and historians, those moments often represent those leaders of who they are and what they stand for. I believe that President George W. Bush can be summed up by two defining moments that he experienced during his time in office. The first moment occurred early in his first term. On September 11, 2001, the United States was attacked by terrorists who crashed planes in World Trade Center and Pentagon. People in the United States were angry, they were fearful, they were uncertain about the future. Just 4 days after the collapse of the World Trade Center, Bush went to ground zero. He spent time there with firefighters, police officers, rescue workers, and he listened. He thanked the people working there and told them that the nation sends its love and compassion to everyone who's here. Reports said that the spirits of the tired searchers lifted when the president arrived and started shaking hands. The people cheered. They felt validated. They felt understood. Bush had connected with them in a way no one had seen him do prior to that moment. The second incident came during Bush's second 4 years in office. It occurred August 31st, 2005, just 2 days after the landfall of Hurricane Katrina. After the levees in New Orleans broke and water flooded into the city, instead of visiting the city as he did in New York after 9/11, Bush flew over New Orleans in Air Force One, peering through one of the jet's small windows to see the damage. As the tragedy unfolded, no one in authority at any level of government connected with the people of New Orleans. Not the president, not the governor, not the mayor. And the people most affected by the problem felt abandoned, forgotten, and betrayed. After the worst of the tragedy was over, no matter what the president said or how much help he provided, he was unable to regain the people's confidence and trust. So a couple of examples there of leadership and what that means to people. I'd like to, just compliment our city council and mayor. I've had, firsthand witness of examples like this. I was out to a ribbon cutting recently at the American First Credit Union. And the owner, the bank, the board of directors, the president, it was a well-attended event. And one thing that they couldn't say enough about was that we had our mayor and city council there. We had our Chamber of Commerce. We had a chamber president and director. And it meant a lot to them because they don't see that at other ribbon cuttings. People don't take the time to go to those. So anyway, that's my motivational thought.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you, Brad. We call him President Tanner. He used to be the president of the Chamber of Commerce back in the day. And then I saw something the other day. What years was your dad up here as a city council member?
72, I believe.
All the times I've talked to your dad, he's never mentioned that he was on this side of the dais, but it was a good time. Did some good things. Good. Thank you, Brad.
You're welcome.
Who's got the pledge?
It's supposed to be Shane.
I'll lead the pledge because Shane's not here. Please repeat the pledge after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Apologize, I didn't say it sooner, but you'll notice we're down a couple of council members today. Councilman Euler is at a water conference for the city today, and Shane is out of town on business. If you don't know what Shane does, even when he's out of town on business, I think he's at a council meeting in Texas or something. So he works a lot with traffic in other cities and communities. So we'll miss them and get them next time. Okay, that takes us to item number C. That's not a number, that's a letter. What's that? Yes, yeah, we can offer a prayer. You want to do that? Yeah. Good.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful for this opportunity that we have to be here in City Council this evening. We are thankful, Father, for all of those who make this possible, all those in attendance today. We're thankful for this great community that we are able to live in and to serve in. We ask you, Father, to please bless us this night to talk about the business and the things that need to happen here in Spanish Fork to continue to make it the great city that it is. Please, Heavenly Father, bless the residents of Spanish Fork with prosperity and with the things that they need. And we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councilman Cardin. Okay, takes us to item C. Chief Johnson is here to take over this part of the meeting where this is a pretty good day when we get to do this stuff.
It's a great day, and as you look out through the crowd here, you can see the support that Parker Swenson, our newest officer, has from his family members and friends. And this same crew was up to the academy graduation a couple weeks ago, and it's great that Parker has this support. Parker, if you'll stand up here. I just want to introduce you to our council members. This is Parker Swenson. I'm sure several of you know Parker. He grew up here in Spanish Fork. He's the son of David and Lisa Swenson. His wife McKinley is present, as well as their son Cal and daughter Charlie. Parker started the police academy in November, graduated March 9th, and he had a couple weeks off over the Christmas holiday, and he came to the office and he was reviewing policy and procedures, writing with our officers, getting to know the community. And on numerous occasions, I would have supervisors, officers stop by my office and say, "Good choice on Parker." Or, "That Parker's a great guy, he's a great fit for the department, for the city." And even as I talk to citizens throughout the community, I always hear that Parker's a great guy, and I think so as well. He's been with us for a week. He had a stressful week last week. As you're all aware, we had a tragedy here in the community with a double homicide, but he jumped in feet first and assisted us on that, and I watch him throughout the day, and he's trainable, teachable, and all I've heard is positive comments about Parker. So it's great when we find a local resident that's willing to jump in, serve the community, protect the citizens, and it's a sense of service, and Parker's aware of that. And this is a difficult job, Parker, but you'll have a lot of support, as you see behind you today. And just know that you're part of the SFPD family, and we're here for you as well, you and your family. So please do not hesitate to reach out to myself or any of the other officers or supervisors. So with that being said, Mayor Mendenhall, are you
I'm ready.
ready to give him
do you
the
want
oath?
your speech before or after we do this? You got one prepared, right? Yeah. I'll come down there.
Parker, you know a lot of people. Are you going to be able to give them a ticket? Look at all those people in the eye. Are you going to let them all off? Think it through. Okay.
She told me earlier that she doesn't even speed anymore, but
I
so-
don't, I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
Besides, a couple years ago, I did get pulled over, but.
Give her a
Hold the record.
So the camera will pick us up over here, right? So you stand right here. Is this Cal? All right, Cal. You're going to be in the camera too. Is that all right? Okay. All right, raise your right hand. And repeat the oath of office after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will, to the best of my ability
that I will, to the best of my ability
and with the highest level of integrity,
and with the highest level of integrity,
serve the people of Spanish Fork City
serve the people of Spanish Fork City,
and preserve, protect, and defend
and preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Utah.
and the Constitution of the State of Utah.
Congratulations. Welcome, Parker.
Thank you, Mayor.
If there's anything you want to say, feel free.
Well, I just appreciate the support from my family, appreciate the support from all of you. This is something I've wanted to do for a long time, and I'm just grateful to be in Spanish Fork and excited to get started, so it'll be good. So appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
I think do we have a police department basketball team? I think it just it's got better, you know, right? Yeah.
We do have one, and they are not that good.
They're not that
Maybe they'll
Did I just
improve
get in
now.
trouble, Matt?
good. Well, they just got better. Seth, anything you want to say?
Oh, we're just super excited. We love Parker, and in terms of having hometown kids, I think the Chiefs of Spanish Fork have long put together a good recipe for success in bringing quality officers to the ranks of our police department by finding people that are invested in the community, and we've certainly got one of those in Parker, and you can see by a lot of the family that are with him, he's connected. I think Stacy's question's a good one. That may be hard, right? But I had a similar conversation with Parker, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm ready." So no, we're just really, really pleased to have him and excited for the opportunities that he'll have with us.
What number does this make, Chief, with Parker joining your rigs?
42.
42 police officers. You're part of an elite crew that Chief mentioned it. Tough times, tough things, but your work is worthy. I want you to know you're supported by us as elected officials, but you're supported in this community too. So lean on this community, the community that you just signed up to nobly serve. So I know your family, friends, and all the support you have, super proud of you, and I know you'll make them proud as well. So congratulations and welcome. We're excited.
Thank you, Parker.
Okay. McKinley and Cal and what was the little girl's name? Charlie. How do we forget Charlie? Gonna give Dad big hugs every time he leaves and comes back from work. So that's good stuff. It's very good stuff. Okay. Let's see. That takes us to item D on the agenda. This has to do with public safety too, but yes, if you came to see Parker take the oath, you're more than welcome to scoot out. Mr. Harrison, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we lost our audience. Dang it. Yeah, we should have been the other place. That's right. Yep. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
You want to give him this? If he needs to sign it. Okay. Item D, Red Cross Proclamation, and Mr. Sperry is here to introduce our guest and speak a little bit about what this item is about.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council, and everyone present. I've been honored to invite Ben Donner, the Executive Director for the Central and Southern Utah chapter of the Red Cross, to join me today. And I I've requested that we honor and recognize the Red Cross for the March of this year and every March from here on. And we've got a proclamation that Mayor is willing to sign, and very grateful for that. I have a quick document to share. I just wanted to talk about a few things that the Red Cross has done in our community. They've made a huge difference. We've held 52 blood drives, which equates to over 1,200 units of blood collected, which has the potential to save over 3,500 lives. We've started an annual Battle of the Badges blood drive. We've had our second one, 119 units collected, which can save up to 357 lives. We've begun an annual smoke alarm home fire safety campaign. Last year, we installed 80 smoke alarms around our community in homes that had either expired smoke alarms or had none at all. We will have another event on May 11th. They've delivered a cache of shelter supplies, and those are housed at Station 62. And those allow us to be ready to open up a shelter for individuals in need. In addition, just 2 weeks ago, we held a Be Red Cross Ready preparedness class for the public, as well as a hands-only CPR class. They've assisted me in an annual preparedness fair as well, held booths in education, and have truly been an asset to our community, to our residents, and to myself. And finally, they assist with all of our home fires. They respond at their disaster action team, and they help residents get back on their feet if they've been displaced from their homes. And they also get into our schools and teach youth preparedness programs, not only at school, but for their homes as well. And these are just a couple of pictures. Their van there delivering disaster shelter supplies. The bottom left being the hands-only CPR class, and the Be Ready Utah, Be Red Cross Ready preparedness class. And then the bottom right was our smoke alarm installation event last year. They sent this award to me in 21, which was a very nice gesture. They honored the city for holding blood drives during the COVID-19 pandemic, because we know that the need for blood doesn't stop with a pandemic. And I'm truly honored to have a friend like Ben at the Red Cross, and to have him and his team be an asset to me, to our community, and to our residents. So I don't know if, Ben, would you like to say anything? Or?
Yeah, boy, you give me the opportunity to speak. So in my role, I oversee our mission for over 55,000 square miles here in central and southern Utah. And in that geography, I can count on this hand how many partners we have of this caliber and of the city. And Spanish Fork, Trevor, firefighters, the entire city is in that, in my personal go-to of most amazing partnerships. And so I'm truly grateful to be here for Trevor, for his dedication, because every day we, just in these couple events up on the screen, if somebody went home from one of those, or the result of what we did when we were installing smoke alarms, that can save a life in that moment. And so without that, what would happen? And so we are super grateful to be here, and grateful to keep on this great work here in Spanish Fork. So thank you.
Thanks for coming. Appreciate it, Ben. Thank you. Cool pin. Like it. You know where you're from.
I know where we can get one.
There you go. There you go. Well, thank you, Trevor. Anything else before we read this proclamation?
We were wondering if we could get a picture.
Oh, you bet.
After.
You bet. Yep, we'll do a picture with everybody.
Perfect.
And we can't thank you enough for your dedication for what you do in the public safety arena. Like Ben said, you're a very vital and important part of Spanish Fork, and so you're doing some good work, and we appreciate it. Okay, here, let me read this, and then we'll get a picture. The Red Cross Proclamation. Whereas celebration of Red Cross Month has been an annual tradition since 1943, when Franklin D. Roosevelt issued the first Red Cross Month proclamation. And whereas the American Red Cross has founded more than 140 was founded more than 140 years ago by Miss Clara Barton with the mission of preventing and alleviating human suffering and to provide help and hope when people are experiencing the most difficult moments of their lives. And whereas since its inception in 1881, the American Red Cross has responded to over 3 million U.S. disasters, including house fires and other incidents in Spanish Fork City. And whereas this month, the American Red Cross celebrates the humanitarian spirit of Spanish Fork City and reaffirms its commitment to help ensure no one faces a crisis alone. And now, therefore, I, the mayor of the city of Spanish Fork of Utah County, state of Utah, hereby proudly proclaim March of each year as Red Cross Month. In the city of Spanish Fork, I ask all residents and visitors to join me in recognizing the American Red Cross during Red Cross Month. We encourage all citizens to turn compassion into action by donating blood, learning life-saving and disaster preparedness skills, or by volunteering. In witness thereof, by the powers granted to me, I have here unto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Spanish Fork to be affixed to this proclamation on the 21st day of March, 2023. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. We'll clap for that. The best way they do this picture is turn around here, and this picture guy here, Mr. Nick Porter, if you guys want to get right in the middle here, he'll move that.
One, two, three, 4, 5, 6. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Important organization doing important work all over the world, but here in Spanish Fork too. We appreciate it. Okay, that takes us to public comments. Anybody from the public that would like to address the mayor and council about items that maybe aren't on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to council comments. We'll start down at Councilman Argyle on that end.
I'm not sure which, am I supposed to speak into both of these mics? Shelley?
Double recording.
Just a couple of things. With Kevin gone, just want to mention an event that took place at the seniors. They recognized Beverly Schofield as the Senior of the Year. And this was kind of a unique little thing, especially because she has 13 children, and they're scattered kind of all over the globe. She even had one that was from Taiwan. And Verna Joel, our senior director, set in motion to try to get all 13 of her children here, and they accomplished that. And so when she came in, she didn't know this was going to happen. And when she seen all 13 of her children, and she made a comment to me that she didn't think she would ever see this happen again until she passed away, because the last time all 13 of them got together was when her husband passed away. So Vietnam, Texas, Utah, Idaho, Iowa, Ohio, they were scattered all over. So it was a pretty neat event for her, and I'm sure she sorely appreciated having her family all there, every one of her children. Just to note that she had those 13 kids in 18 years. So that was really quick family there. So anyway, thank you to the seniors and to Beverly Schofield. She's an asset to the seniors center down there. Also, just would like to recognize this Saturday, we had a food drive. Those of you, I'm sure a lot of you had a chance to participate and help in many things. We have an awesome thing here in our community called Tabitha's Way. They're a big part of that. Utah's food bank, most important, especially now, as I watch some of the commercials that the food and there is a big demand on our pantries that are scattered across the state, and this gives them a big shot in the arm. And so if you had an opportunity to participate, you don't have to just do it on Saturdays on a Utah Food Bank Day. You can always donate to any of our communities Tabitha's Ways right here in Spanish Fork. The Food Care Coalition is in Provo, and they will always accept anything that you want to help them with, and they do a lot of good in our communities. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Argyle. Councilman Cardon?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just a few things. The first are some activities that we have going on in the city. Jungle Book is going on right now. I know that you've been waiting for that, Mayor. And so that is going on up at Maven Mountain High School for the next few nights. There's also some auditions happening for Matilda. It says calling all revolting children. So I don't know if we know any of those here in Spanish Fork, but I'm sure there's some that can act like revolting children. But those auditions will be happening next month. Also, the chorale, the Spanish Fork Chorale, which is a part of the Arts Council, which I get to help out with a little bit in the Arts Council, is they have a program on Sunday, the 26th at 7 p.m., and that will actually be in Elk Ridge. So, yeah, go and check that out. The last thing that I have before I ask someone to come up is last week I got to attend my first URPA or YRPA conference with Dell. Thank you for inviting us to go. It was awesome to see how well respected the state and those peers of the rec department see what we get to see on a daily basis. And a part of that was some awards that I just want to touch on quickly, but then I think we'll recognize them here in a council meeting here in a few weeks. Our Youth Arts Festival was recognized as one of the Innovation of the Year award recipients. Because if you didn't know, they have a ton of participants, like close to 2,000 participants. I think we've talked about that a couple times, and 150 different classes. It's pretty amazing what they're able to accomplish, and a lot of that comes from different funding sources, including the RAB tax, but a lot of volunteer hours go into making that happen. Whitney and Emily and different people making sure that they have teachers, making sure that they have facilities. It's no easy feat. And the other award that I wanted to mention was the Run for the Roses done by our senior center. And they have a ton of people that help with that too. And I think it goes to showing, one, that we do have the best rec department in the state. And then second is that the volunteers and the different employees and the different groups that work together to make our community what it is, it goes recognized by not only us in the state and others, but it's what makes our community what it is. So thank you, Dell, thank you to your team, and thank you to all those in the Parks and Rec. And it was a great event to go to. And then lastly, I want to invite Kathleen up from the Chamber of Commerce.
I shared you the same drive, if it came up. Okay, cool. Awesome. You guys, it's beginning to look a lot like Easter. So we are ramping up for the Easter egg hunt. I want to remind everybody that it is going to be on April 1st this year, not on the 8th like traditionally. The sports park was not available on the 8th, so we figured it would be a lot easier to move the date than it would be to move the location. And so it's going to be April 1st at 9 a.m. Do get there early if you want to participate, because it gets pretty crazy, and it's over in about 60 seconds or less. So,
About 2,000 kids.
Right,
So.
yes. So we had about 1,500 bags prepared last year. We upped it to 1,800 this year to hopefully accommodate more of the children. We just picked up bikes the other day. We had 26 bike sponsors this year, so we have 26 free bikes that are going to be in little prize Easter eggs. So every kid's going to get an Easter egg that has a golden ticket in it, and the ticket will be redeemable for either a bike, a Easter basket. If you want to go to some of the next photos are Easter baskets. We got some plushies and Easter baskets this year. We have 26 bikes. We have 115 plushies and Easter baskets. So actually, my 7-year-old came with me to help do all this purchasing yesterday. And as we were leaving, he says, "Mom, are we broke now?" So this is a huge operation, and we have, I was just counting in my head, at least 70 business owners that help contribute to make this a possibility. So I just have to give a huge shout out to all of the bike sponsors, the basket sponsors, the field sponsors, the event sponsors. I mean, it is such a group effort to make this this event possible, and it's due to the generosity of our business owners that makes this possible. So huge thanks to all of them. But yeah, so that's kind of what we've got. The event we have coming up this week is the ribbon cutting for Mountain America Credit Union is on the 30th at 11:30. They will be providing lunch. I do believe all of you will be out of town, so hopefully they didn't go to the America Credit one. But I think Chris is going to be able to come. Perfect. Tyler, sorry, just kidding. Sorry about that. Tyler will be coming to represent you also. Thank you, Tyler. Awesome. Tyler, this time. And then, okay, this is fun today. We are introducing more unique networking opportunities for our business community. That was an ask that they had, that we offer more opportunities. So Intermountain Healthcare hosted us today for lunch and a tour of their facility, as well as this giant inflatable colon. It is colorectal Cancer Awareness Month, and so they had a presentation there for us to teach us all about that. There's a little scope that I think Travis is going to try to get for SFCN so that he can get into crowded places. We had a really good time there today. So thanks to the business owners that came, and thank you for Intermountain Healthcare for hosting us. Guys, that's the Chamber of Commerce. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, and that's all I have today.
Thank you. Councilwoman Beck.
I would like to just remind the community that on Thursday, this Thursday, March 23rd, will be a special event over at the library, the old library, for anyone to just come and walk through that evening and reminisce, write their name on the walls, kind of walk through. Nick or Seth, do either of you have more details on that specifically at the library? Or people can just kind of go over Thursday evening and participate? Oh, it's Nostalgia Night. It even has a name. Okay, so that will be at 6 p.m. They close at 8 p.m., I think.
I don't want to give away all of the fun and secrets that are associated with it, but there will be some unique opportunities as a part of these last day events
Okay.
that they're doing.
Alrighty. So that will be Thursday. Friday is the last day the library will be open. So we are asking that everyone return any books that they have right now. There is no late charge this week, so get your books turned in. The library will be closed for 4 weeks, and so there won't be any opportunity to check books out. So come and get what you want to have at your home as well. So Friday will be the closing, and then Saturday morning at 7:45 to 8:45 a.m., there's going to be a book chain on Main. And this is a great opportunity for the residents to participate in a very memorable opportunity of moving all of the books and items from the library across the street. So again, that's 7:45 a.m. to 8:45 a.m. And then the grand opening and ribbon cutting for the new library hall will be on Saturday morning, April 29th at 9:30. I think that's it. So that's enough on the library. And Seth, do you have something else?
Can I just clarify one thing? We aren't going to move all of the books. Like, that chain isn't going to take every
But
single book.
maybe if there's 48,000 of our residents that show up, we could do it.
Wow. We are not
Carry at
prepared
least
for that.
10.
I don't think Chief is either.
Well, the street's going to be shut down, so I mean, that's
We
fine.
have an hour. We're going to do what we can do.
We're going to, but, yeah, it'll be
Challenge
fun.
accepted.
So one thing though, as we shut down the library on the 24th, we are actually going to remove the book drop boxes that are at the library. And book drop boxes should be up here, that they can drive up and drop off. So if somebody does want to return a book on April 7th, and they walk up to the library and they're like, hey, let me in, I'm going to try to drop off the book because there won't be a box there. We actually want them to bring it over here. They can actually continue to help us move the books to the new library by putting it in the drop box. That'll be here. And eventually they can put it in the drop box on the wall that will run it on the cool conveyor belt too. But so that'll be available.
That will be cool. That was one of the biggest, most requested things to have at the new library was a book drop-off. That you
Drive-up,
could just
drop-off.
drive through, drop it off. So it's going to be super cool. The library's awesome. Just driving down Main Street this afternoon, I looked over and I could see that there were lamps and chairs, and I think that there might be some accidents because I was just like, oh, that's so cool. I just want to go sit in there. So be careful as you're driving down Main. It's very distracting.
She's not speeding though.
Yes, I'm not speeding, going very slow. I don't know, I wanted to read an email that we received last week, I believe, from a resident, and I don't know if Chief Johnson, you will be able to answer this, But if I can read it, I thought it might be applicable and some other people might be wondering about this answer as well. She could not be here tonight due to work conflicts. So she says, I was looking at getting a couple of chickens to put in my backyard. I can follow almost every rule and regulations that you have except one, which is the size of my lot. You have to have 5,000 square feet to have any amount of chickens up to 6. If you have less, you can't have any. My lot size is about 1,500, but I have the space to have adequate space for them to live and run. I was wondering if we could change the permit, or you could give me good reasoning to why that is in place. I talked to animal control, and they said the only thing was them being too close to neighbors, but it has a section that says if you get a complaint, they can take the chickens. So if anyone had problems, it would be taken care of.
So maybe just a quick thought on that. The real issue, the biggest issue really is the size of the yard. And that, at least going back, and I don't know, Matt, you probably weren't heavily involved in this when this.
do recall that was the big issue.
The room to roam so that they don't mess in the same place all the time. And then have a buildup of smell. That was the biggest consideration, I think, when we talked about the lot size. So if we want to study that and consider smaller or anything like that, we can. But it was specifically the lot size and the smallest lot size that was considered at that 6,000 square feet.
5,000.
Or, yeah, I'm sorry, 5,000 square feet. 6,000, I think, was ADUs. So if you want us to study that, we can conduct some. Okay, I was gonna make a joke. I won't. We can look into that though and study some of the spaces and sizes and see what could
Okay.
work. If you'd like us to, we can do that.
There's a big difference, just at first look at, 5,000 square feet to 1,500 square feet.
For sure, lots.
That's a lot. I mean, maybe if we went from 5,000 even to 4,000 or 3,000, but to go down to 1,500, that's pretty.
And that wouldn't solve her
Big.
challenge, right?
Okay.
And one of the things, and this is gonna maybe come out a little bit intense or maybe even mean, I don't mean it to sound this way, but not every lot in the city is intended to or capable of doing everything that every other lot is capable of, right? Lot size matters in terms of being able to have, maybe I wanna have all of my trailers on my lot. Well, if I have a 6,000 square foot lot, it's gonna be hard for me to do that. And so there really is some discretion that comes with lot size and different things, and not every lot can do everything. So there are some things that a smaller lot just can't do.
Yeah.
And there are some trade-offs. A smaller lot doesn't have to mow their grass as much or as long as, maybe a larger lot, right? But, so that's not really a great answer to somebody who wants to have chickens in their smaller lot. But there are some trade-offs that do occur.
So
if
it
you'd
sounds like
us-
to me that we just need to decide if it's something we want to discuss.
If you want to take it on,
Okay.
yep, and if you want us to give you any research on that, you let us know, and we
Okay.
can certainly look at whatever you'd like us to, and then bring that back to you.
I think a research might be good, just because I think this would be a question that a lot of people might be asking. And we'll at least have updated information.
Okay.
This was a while ago.
Yeah, I think if I remember right, Jens Nielsen was on the council, because he became like the chicken guy.
And
if I recall.
That was like 20 years ago.
Yeah. So that was circa 2010, so.
and
It might be time to revisit it, and we might come up with the same answer and feel good about our choice, but,
for sure.
okay.
just a note, the company that supplies chicks on an average year did between 1.5 and 2 million, and this year they're over 7 million. So
Chicks?
I'm surprised we haven't had that.
Well, I think it's because of the egg prices. Yeah,
Yeah, so.
yeah. Okay. That's all I have, Mayor.
Perfect. Thank you, Councilwoman Beck. Your library late fee waiver, did I catch that right? So this week? So I think if you go back to some
Richard
council.
Davis's week.
I was going to say, this is Richard Davis's time. Find that book and bring it in.
Call it on Richard Davis.
Yeah, I think Mayor Leifson had one too. You turn them in this week. If you don't, we're sending the chief after you the next week, right? For that overdue library book. But yes, Get your library books in this week. That's a pretty good deal. I wanted to, Nick, to put, this is on a lot of residents' minds. We're getting asked about it, but you can stay close to public, websites to see our snowpack update. Councilman, like we already mentioned, Councilman Euler is down at a water conference to discuss this. I remember attending, I was attending that water conference earlier today and last night, but I remember attending some of those water conferences with my dad that was in the water business before, and I told him when I got back, I says, you never had years like this at that conference where there were things to smile about, if you will, as far as water goes. It was always a discussion of how much we don't have at this conference, but not this year. You can see that that's a 211% number of normal, and the two closest lines to that blue line, which is still trending upward, is 1983 and 84, which were big years in this area for high water. So, Seth, not to put you on the spot, but we've shared some information in the public through our channels and everything else about this. But any other updates you want to give the residents on this? It's top of mind for sure.
Absolutely, and I don't believe that our 101 is here, so maybe we'll just talk about this instead of UDOT today. I think this is a very critical issue, and we talked about this in a recent council meeting, and hopefully some additional people are watching it, but that snowpack level is record-breaking, right? It's a big, big number. If we didn't receive another drop of snow in the mountains, we would be, this 192 says what, if we didn't receive another drop of snow, we'd be at 192% of average. And I don't know if you looked at the forecast for the rest of this week, but if it's going to rain down here and the temperatures that we have, it's going to snow some more. And so we are just adding to it. And the chances of it flooding are very, very real. And the reason that I say that is because this was a flood year and this was a flood year. And it all depends on how quickly it melts and if it rains while it's melting. We've also had a very similar snowpack, this purplish line that started at about the same height, that 23 water inches. 23 water inches of snow is it's about 10 inches of water, 10 inches of snow for an inch of water. So that's 230-ish inches in those in those years. Right now we're sitting at 28. So 280 inches. Somebody want to do the math on that? 280 divided by 12, that's how many feet of snow? It's a lot. It's more than I've ever seen in my life. So the flood the river might flood if we have all of the events happen that are bad, like high temperature, or a quick warm up all at once and rain that's happening at the same time. But I don't want to sound the alarm today. Some residents have started calling saying, what do I do? What should I do today? And do I need to be worried today? And in terms of the river flooding, and I want to say, no, you don't need to do really anything today, but think. And that's a really important part. If you live near the river, it would be good for you to walk around your house, and especially in your basement areas, and look at what is down here that I could move, that I might want to move when the river starts to get higher. The river probably will not get high overnight. It will probably take a week, 2, maybe even 3, as it inches upward a little bit each day. So with our Spanish Fork River and flooding, you typically get a lot of warning. And as a city, we're doing a lot of work right now to prepare for what could happen, and most specifically taking debris, fallen trees and things like that out of the river. But as we get closer and closer, there will be a lot more activity and or actions that the city will take in terms of maybe sandbags and different things to help protect city facilities and maybe to assist residents in their properties. But I would fully expect that. You see the melt started somewhere around May 1st. Do you have that? Did you get that time of the river water flow? Yeah, do you have that? Yeah, thank you. So this graph is really, really telling. And when the baseline of river flow is actually somewhere down here. Let's call it 100 CFS. That's 100 gallons of milk flowing through one point at a time. And that's typical summer water flow. And right here, it's at 200, and you're like, wow, that's twice as much. It is, but you probably wouldn't really notice that. And the river is flowing just under 200 CFS right now. At 500 CFS, in certain places, you might say, oh, I can see that it's a little bit higher than normal, but it's definitely not at any kind of flood stage. At 1,000 CFS, you would look at the river and say, wow, that's really cool. The river's flowing fast, and it's a little bit, maybe even a lot higher. But you'll see this year, or at this time, and this was in May, this is what, May 9th? And then we peaked May 9th and May 16th, and then the river stayed fairly high for a month as that snow was coming down off the mountains. So as I think about the river, and not just me, but as we think about the river, really the flood season for the Spanish Fork River isn't going to start probably any sooner than April 15th. But more likely, we'll start to see that water go up towards the end of April and then in May. One thing, though, that I don't think we can stress enough as the river gets higher, especially for families that live close to the river or families that recreate at the park, you got to keep track of your kids. As the river begins to move, you will not be able to see because it's going to be very muddy. The water will be very dirty. And it will be very fast, and it will be in terrain that isn't normally there. And so if you walk in the river, you're probably going to trip on a stump that you don't see, but it's there because the water's higher and up in the banks where it doesn't normally flow. And so as the river starts to flow, one caution that our residents must heed is keep your kids away from the river. It's really cool to look at, and I think you should go look at it because it happens once every 10 or 20 years. But stay away. Respect the river and the power of the river. If you fall into it, it will be very, very difficult for you to get out. And so we don't want that to happen. So I'm not trying to scare anybody. In fact, the purpose of me standing up here was to not scare people. It sounded like I just scared everybody, though. So back to my house. If I live close to the river and I'm worried about flooding and what could happen in the springs, today I would say walk around your basement especially and look at what can I move. If I had to start getting things out of here because I think flood waters might come into my home, start looking at, okay, I want to move those furnitures and move this and move that. But I wouldn't move anything because you're going to move it and then sit with your house in some sort of disarray for 2 months. I would just prepare. Just think about it. And then at some point, you're going to start to see the river get up there, and I think with a few days' notice, you might be like, okay, it's getting closer and closer. That may be a moment where you decide you want to move it. But I wouldn't do any of that until, sometime down the road. We'll see that flood coming. Now, there is another challenge that some residents are facing, and that is water coming through foundations in their homes today. We have a much higher water table than we have had in a long time, 10-ish years. Right, and so there are homes that are having water flowing into their basements through the walls of their basements, and that's really unfortunate. There's a high water table, and that's a function of the water around their home and their basements and things like that. And we have some people that can give some tips and ideas, but that's, as water maybe flows into a home, that's something that the homeowner will need to deal with, which is really unfortunate. I don't know if that was helpful.
Thank
at
you.
all.
That's what I wanted.
Like, sit down, Seth.
It's a wet year, and he tried not to scare you, but he scared us. Just keep an eye on it. It's going to, like Seth mentioned, it's going to come up over time, but it's going to be high water, and that can be really dangerous for kids and animals and everyone. So.
But again, that won't be for another month.
Yeah, that's coming.
Yeah, don't freak out right now.
Yeah.
There are places that are flooding today, but that's not our river, and it's not coming.
Yeah.
The best thing that could happen is if we had a bunch of 55-degree days for 2 or 3 weeks, right? Just start that melt nice and slow. That'd be fantastic.
So, start praying for that. Stop praying for water for a minute. Start praying for 55-degree days to melt it down
2
slowly.
months of 55 would be fantastic.
People want to swim. Kids want to. Yeah, it's not warm enough.
70.
The partnership between the city and the county, I can't overstate enough. Also, the property owners, the farmers, just a good relationship all the way around. I was in some meetings with Chris Thompson from our engineering department with the Strawberry Water Users Association last last week. And the coordination there between the city and the county and those property owners is really, I know it's not something that's maybe out there in the public all the time. They're not necessarily public meetings, but you should just know that those meetings are going on. We're in constant conversation with those stakeholders and those property owners, those farmers, and I can't say enough good about them. They're allowing us to get in the river, do mitigation work right now, which I know our crews are working overtime doing that to try to get debris out of the river so it doesn't back up in certain places of the river. So.
And when the high water happens, we'll have other assets that we deploy on bridges, and that really becomes a sticking point, right, where maybe a tree comes from upstream and then lodges at the bridge. So we'll even prepare to have, say, a backhoe, track hoe, something that can clear some of that debris out of the way, so we don't have flood water backing up because of that lodging and creating a sort of beaver dam, if you will.
That's the big risk, right? Is that debris that comes down from the mountains, especially after we still have burn scars and things like that, that is going to bring a lot of debris with it. So we'll try to keep it clear and do that proactive work for sure. Wanted to mention, I had the opportunity to speak to the Rotary Club last week. Appreciate the SFCN being there to film that, but also the good Rotarians and the good work they do. It's great to be at their club and be with all those good folks. They got some good service opportunities coming up, and they help the city out tremendously. So thank you to all those guys. Chief, I don't know, to put you on the spot at all, but Spanish Fork in the news for a couple of tragedies. I don't know if there's any update that you want to give to the residents of Spanish Fork about the homicide you already mentioned.
Yeah, without going into a lot of detail, we were able to locate the person of interest as well as the vehicle we were looking for within a 4-hour time frame from the time that we began our investigation. He was located in Colorado with the assistance of the Grand County Sheriff's Office. He was taken into custody. He led deputies on a 35-mile pursuit. He's currently being held in the Grand County Jail for $400,000 cash only. We're waiting to get some evidence back from the state crime lab, and then we're hoping to have a warrant drafted hopefully by the end of the week, and working with our county attorney's office and bringing the individual back to the state of Utah. So it's a tragedy. We're thinking of the Parker family at this time, and it's something that affects the entire community and our residents and our public safety department and the community as a whole. But we'll work through it, and we appreciate the support of the community at this time. So,
thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Chief. Yeah, stuff like that does ripple through our whole community, but thank you for the professionalism and the good work that you and your staff do in that process. Another, again, like Chief mentioned, our thoughts, condolences with the Park family, and also another family in Spanish Fork, a tough thing with a vehicle accident. With the Feudum family and a couple others that were involved in an accident and gone too soon was my friend Gideon. Our thoughts and prayers are out to that family, those friends, those students, classmates that know him. That's a tough thing. Gideon was a good kid. He played on the Twins in Little League. Had the opportunity to coach him, and when text messages started rolling in about what had happened, it just goes to show you there's a lot of love out there, and that's certainly a tough one. So again, my personal beliefs are that this isn't the time we spend here isn't a forever thing, but I also know how important human relationships are, and that relationship with that family and his friends lives on forever. So again, our thoughts and prayers from the council, I know shares that sentiment as well. So that's all I have for my comments. Anything else that we missed on, council?
No.
Okay. All right, that takes us, Seth, you said Spanish Fork 101 is not prepared. We don't have UDOT here. Okay, we'll push that. Do you need a motion to extend that item, or, okay. All right, that takes us to item number 7, consent items. There's 5 consent items. I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent items, or any questions about the consent items.
I move to approve the consent items.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Cardon, seconded by Councilman Argyle to approve the consent items. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Consent items are approved. Takes us to item 8, number 8, new business. We've got items A through I under new business, and A is the resolution indicating the intent to annex the GWC annexation. Mr. David Anderson.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. This is 40 acres located just north of generally north of the facility that Sunrock opened this past fall, I guess maybe it was. I should use a pointer. So I was referring to this property right here, the 40 acres we're talking about, actually is adjacent to that site. Right here, you can see the existing city boundary follows as such, so it appears as though kind of a notch. It's been left out of the north boundary of Spanish Fork today. This item's been on your agenda once before for the same request. It's back now after there have been some more conversations with property owners. And Mr. Piquel asked me to present this tonight in his behalf with the understanding that one additional property owner has signed a petition to be annexed into the city. That is the Blanc family, who own approximately 10 acres, as I understand it, right here, approximately right there. So this is presented tonight with the majority of the property owners having acknowledged some desire to be annexed into Spanish Fork City. There is one owner of a parcel that I know is the Sheps parcel that's part of the proposed annexation right here that for reasons that might be obvious is kind of hard to leave out. Leaving that out of this proposed annexation would create just a 10-acre island right there. So that has been included with this resolution to have these properties annexed again, some 40 acres. The process to have properties annexed by resolution is a little bit different than what typically has happened over the years, where it's proposals to have properties annexed by petition. With this process, the next formal step really would be that after going through a notice period, this would be back on your agenda for action potentially on the 18th of April. So in case anybody's interested, there would be a public hearing with the City Council on the 18th of April. If you adopt this resolution tonight and there are no hiccups along the way, so that's the plan moving forward. Between now and then, we would anticipate, in all likelihood, taking this to the Planning Commission to get a recommendation from them on zoning. And with the understanding that this area and these properties are designated as industrial on the city's general plan, it's quite probable that staff would be recommending that the property be zoned industrial at the time of annexation, but that hasn't been finalized yet.
Thank you, Dave. Any questions for Dave?
Dave, the Shep family, is that what you said?
I believe that's
Correct name?
I noticed the Shep parcel. I'm not sure if that's,
So
is that
are
a
they-
surname?
Shepherds was
Shepherds.
the original owner.
Okay, thank you.
So are they opposed? Are they indifferent? Where do they stand with this? And maybe that's been talked about before, but I wasn't on the council at that point.
I'm certainly in no position to speak for the entire family. I understand there may be different ownership interests with that property. Some people that have represented themselves as being owners of the property, have indicated clearly that they don't want to be annexed at this time. Incidentally, we reached out to them. They came to your meeting the last time. This proposal was on an agenda. We had a pretty good conversation that evening. We have their contact info. I reached out to them last week to let them know that this was going to be back on your agenda this evening. Lots of things can make it hard for people to attend these meetings, I know, but we did make an effort to reach out so that they would be aware of this step.
And today isn't a public hearing, so.
And today's not a public
There
hearing.
will be a public hearing.
We had assured them before that we'd keep them apprised of what was going on.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you, Dave. Anything else for Dave?
Mayor, may I make a comment here? As we visited, Dave and I, with the Blunt family, they live here in this area of the annexation, not in the city's limits today. And one of the things that we talked to them about with an annexation like this is correcting something in the name of public safety, and that is addresses. And actually, a family, any families, maybe a big concern for them when an annexation happens is their address changes, right? Because they may be on a county address and now they move into a city address and they have to communicate with the world what their new address is. But one thing that we learned specifically here, we assumed that this may be the case, and they confirmed with some of their own stories that because the address here, and I think this street is 4,000 South in the county. I don't know if it is 4,000 South or not.
It is.
Is that what it is, 4,000 South? In the county, but in Spanish Fork, it's what is it in Spanish Fork? It's gonna be a north, 3,800 north, and then in Springville, it's 400 south. And so if a family lives in this area and they call 911 and they say that there's something happening at their home, whatever it is, and let's say you fall down and you have a compound fracture and you're bleeding, that was gruesome. Let's say you have some emergency. I'm really on a roll today.
Scaring people left and right.
Sorry. You have some emergency, whatever it is. You need an ambulance to be there. What address do you give? And they said, we've called 911 a couple of times, and we're on the phone waiting for the ambulance, and we'll get from dispatchers commentary back of, the ambulance is near Lincoln Beach. Not Lincoln Beach. Yeah, Lincoln Beach. Is that close to you? Like, no, Lincoln Beach. Lincoln Beach is way over there. And so what happens is the ambulance is looking for that address on a city grid, not on a county grid. I wish that we could solve that problem pretty easily, but we can't because of how the grid system and the nomenclature works. We are working with the UDOT to try to change the name of this road and maybe have it be not some number. But their east and west, their north and south still will be a county versus city. And so that's one thing. When we look at these kinds of annexations and we have potentially properties that get left out, we create these islands. A big concern for us is really public safety. That you may have this little parcel in the middle of the city that has a county address. Now, if we have an officer or an ambulance driver that's been here for 10, 15 years, and they know that road is 4,000 South, they'll find it. But if we have, say, this new officer that was sworn in today that he doesn't know this area, like he doesn't know that street with that county name way back when, it's going to be really difficult for them to get there. And so as we consider these kinds of annexations, one concern that I want to make sure that you're at least aware of is the addressing nomenclature that comes when we have a property inside of this that has a county address, but is surrounded by city addresses. And when they give an address of, XYZ county coordinate, our people will probably struggle to get there. And I wish that weren't the case, but in all reality, it ends up being the case. And we talked with dispatch about trying to do something else. How could we do something else? And they don't have a good answer for that either. So really getting the addressing right, consistent along those roads really does help solve some of those public safety issues.
Good point.
I may have one more additional question. Sorry. Dave, maybe this is for you. You said that, or typically we would approve this for further study, and this is a resolution. What makes that process different, or what does that differ as we go forward?
Practically speaking, processing an annexation application by resolution is a slightly streamlined way
Okay.
to go through the process compared with what would happen by petition. The notice period is longer, and that's the biggest difference. There's an additional 30 days of notice that's required. And actually, it's not 30 days of notice. Sorry, I'm trying to get this straight for sure. So the notice requirements are the same. We have to advertise in 3 consecutive weeks with both resolution and petitions. And with the petition process, at the conclusion of the notice period, at the conclusion of providing notice, there's a 30-day protest period. Whereas at the conclusion of the noticing that happens with a resolution, then as I understand it, that item can immediately be placed on a council agenda as a public hearing. A public hearing has to be held, just like with a petition, but the council can act at that time. Now, there are only certain situations where properties can be annexed by resolution. Filling in what is a county peninsula, as is the case here, is one of those. So that's perhaps one of the reasons that you wouldn't see other annexations go through the process by resolution. They may just not qualify for some reason. I believe everything that I just said was accurate. Kind of wish Vaughn was here. He'd get it right for sure. But I think that's the biggest difference. There's not that formal 30-day protest period with a resolution.
Yeah, I was just making sure, like, next steps were the same, right? And you had already mentioned it before, but just making sure I didn't misunderstand. We still have 2 public hearings that are going to happen on this piece of property, or this different, these parcels. And then also, I think to Seth's point, the public safety thing is a huge thing to take into account when we're moving forward with this, so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I apologize, but just so I wasn't, maybe I misspoke, but there is just one public hearing, actually.
Oh.
And that's with the city council.
Okay, so not with the planning commission?
Not with the, and that is the same with a petition, by
Okay.
the way, as well. No hearing with the
Perfect.
planning commission. Just be it's a public
Yeah,
meeting.
right.
Exactly.
This will be on a planning commission agenda.
The plan is to have it on the planning commission agenda on the 12th, primarily just to discuss the recommendation on zoning.
Okay. Upon annexation.
Yep, exactly. Does that make sense?
Thank you, Dave. Yep, that makes sense.
Perfect.
If the applicant's here, you want to wait for public hearing time in a month to speak, or is there something you want to lend any insight with today? Okay, thank you. Any other questions for staff on this? If not, I would entertain a motion on item A.
I move to approve the resolution indicating intent to annex the GWC annexation.
Motion made by Councilwoman Beck,
Second.
seconded by Councilman Cardon. This is a roll call vote. Councilwoman Beck?
Yes.
Councilman Cardon?
Yes.
Councilman Argyle?
No.
That passes 2-1. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, you need,
No, we need more than that.
you still have to hit the 3.
Yeah,
That's what would fail.
since we're down some people. Okay. So that item A does not pass. Anything, Councilman Argyle, you want to say about that vote?
So because of the no, I still respect the property owners who are trying to not be annexed into the city. I understand the safety issues that you talk about when it comes to residential and homes and stuff. Worked a lot with that when I worked at Quest. I get the safety, but I also understand this family does not want to be in the city, and they have some pretty good reasons for that. So just feel good about that.
And I would add just to my yes, just to kind of similar in the same ways with Chad, is the fact that we'd have a public hearing. I would like to hear from them, so that would be my reason for a yes. So
I
just
agree,
kinda-
because Chad, it sounds like you're the only one up here that knows their reasons, and we don't know.
But they've expressed those reasons many, many times to us. They have in the past. This is not the first time this has been up for annexation. And I guess I'd ask a quick question to Dave. Why do we continue to include this 10 acres? Are we just trying to close an island and a gap just by including this 10 acres?
I'll take this one, Dave. We actually haven't pushed this all the way through the process. It was started not by petition, and then we identified some of these public safety issues that we brought before you today. And so we, as staff, have moved this to by resolution. So it started by petition, we've moved it by resolution. So it hasn't come through, and I don't believe we've held a public hearing yet on it in terms of this annexation actually being moved through that process. So I think we've heard from them, maybe in some settings. I don't think we've had a public hearing on it yet.
Not this time around.
I don't think any time.
Well, they came, several years ago, they came through when we were trying, back when Sunrock was trying to even start this.
I think that was on a different issue because we were in the High Chaparral for that one, right?
Yeah.
And I think that
one of
was
the
on
times.
the,
There was a time here where they
Yeah, for
showed
sure.
up here.
but I think that
and
was
expressed.
when we were talking about these properties here.
Right.
And not this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember in a planning commission, they had talked about, because they have horses, I believe, that they run on that property, and they worried about the berm, and some of things like that, but I don't recall anything about the property, so that's why.
And so maybe just to be clear, this issue hasn't been coming back. It just hasn't come all the way.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item B, Flock Group, Inc., Services Agreement for Public Safety Automated License Plate Readers.
The contract you have before you this evening is an agreement between the Spanish Fork City Police Department and the Flock Group for the installation and us to access their software for 8 ALPRs, what are otherwise known as automated license plate readers. We would position 8 of these throughout the community. The sole purpose is for public safety reasons. They don't monitor traffic offenses. We don't monitor if somebody's driving without insurance or expired registration or on a suspended license. Their sole purpose is for us to detect stolen vehicles, amber alerts, silver alerts, missing or endangered persons, and we can also use them for criminal investigation purposes. So if we have one near a business and we're responding to investigate something that occurred at that business, if we have a partial plate that's provided to us or a description of the vehicle, we can go into that system, search by partial plate or the description of the vehicle, and then that would give us notify us of what vehicles were in that area during that time frame. It's a photograph, it's not video. It simply takes a photograph of the license plate. There is not a photograph of anyone inside the vehicle, the driver, passengers, anything such as that. And during our incident last week, this was brought to my attention on how invaluable these license plate readers can be. We detected the person that we were looking for in the stolen vehicle due to the automated license plate readers as well as the cell phone ping. So these are innovative technology that's being used for public safety purposes only. The information is retained for 30 days and then it's swept from the system. To enter the system, you need a case number and a lawful purpose, basically, for us to be investigating something to access that system. If you recall, back in January, I did a presentation on this. Do any of you have any questions about the ALPRs?
This group installs them?
This group installs them, yes.
So you said that you have to have a case number. Do you enter that into the system when
Yes,
you go in there so that
yes.
there's a tracking?
So our officers would be provided a login, and then they could log into that system, put in the case number, and then they'd log in and receive a notification in their in-car computers of stolen vehicles or amber alerts if that car came through our jurisdiction and we were to pick up that vehicle. from the license plate reader.
I know when you presented this to us, one of my neighbors that owns a business here in town had just let me know, I think the day before our meeting, that his car had been stolen. And so I remember texting him saying, hey, we're looking at doing, approving this in our budget for the police officers. And he said, oh, ironically, my car was picked up in West Valley because of that system. They were able to find his car within a couple short days because of the good work your police officers and getting all the information and his plates out across the state.
Yeah, there's in Utah approximately 20 to 22 agencies using license plate readers now. That number's increasing. We have a couple neighboring jurisdictions that have them installed: Springville, Santaquin, Nephi, Juab County. I think Orem and Provo will be installing some. Alpine Highland has just been approved to install some in their community as well. So this sole purpose, it's not for traffic enforcement, it's for public safety issues. It's to keep our community and our citizens safe, reduce crime, and then solve the criminal activity that is occurring. So it's just a new technology that's out, and it's coming to Utah and throughout the United States. There's approximately 2,000 communities throughout the United States that are utilizing this tool. So with that being said, if you don't have any further questions, I would recommend us entering into this agreement.
And the case number, to get a case number to be looking on these cameras can't be, hey, I heard Councilwoman Beck shops out of town in Salem sometimes. I'd like to open a case on that or something.
Correct.
Not that she does. She doesn't do that.
No,
but-
it would have to be a lawful
That would be-
investigative purpose, reasonable suspicion to enter a case number, or probable cause. We're audited on those case numbers. We would set up a transparency portal so that the community could see what are we entering case numbers for, how many searches are we doing, and what are those searches for. So we want to be very transparent with this.
And I would suggest we be transparent with the public and just let them know this is a 12-month term for $22,800.
Correct. And the cameras, if we do enter in this agreement, they will be installed in sometime after July during the new budget year. There was going to be a cost increase come the 1st of April, so we wanted to get this contract before you this evening and see if you were agreeable to that and willing to enter into this agreement with Flock Incorporated.
If we continue forward, will we keep that cost savings? Or will we have to pay that higher cost?
They would give us notification if they do increase their cost, but I believe it's a 60-day notification, but the contract is good on a year-by-year basis. Before we entered into a 2-year contract and before we installed more than 8 cameras, we wanted to see if this was something that's viable and useful for our community before we got into a big cost into this, and see if it's something that's beneficial to our community and citizens.
Any other questions for Chief? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no other questions, I'd entertain a motion on item B.
I move to approve the Flock Group Incorporated Service Agreement to Public Safety Automated License Plate Readers.
Second?
Motion made by Councilman Cardon, seconded by Councilman Argyle. Roll call vote. Councilman Argyle.
Yes.
Councilman Cardon.
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck.
Yes.
That's approved. Item B is approved. Takes us to item C, resolution approving the interlocal agreement between Spanish Fork and Utah County 2023 elections.
So this is exactly what you just outlined, Mayor. Interlocal agreement between us and the county. We promise that we will, in regards to the upcoming election, that we will help the candidates as they come in to declare. We'll make sure that we post information online, provide the public notices that we need to. We really do the administrative work on the city side. That's what our portion of the agreement is. And then the county agrees to process the ballots, to print the ballots, to provide poll workers at locations throughout the county. As far as Spanish Fork goes, it will be a vote by mail. And this agreement says that if we have both a primary and a general election, based on the current number of registered voters in Spanish Fork, which is just over 22,000, that the city would pay $50,000 for the primary election and $50,000 for the general election for the county to administer the ballot portion of the agreement.
Tyler, does that adjust if we don't have 22,000 people vote?
Yeah, so 11 days before the actual election, the county will check and see how many actual voters we have. I have to look, I think it was $225 per ballot that they mail out, that is what we'll pay. So it's based on that.
Okay. Anything else for Tyler?
Thanks.
3 council seats in the next election, and the dates that Tara has shared here. Oh, it's up there on the screen too. Nick. Primary election August 15th, general election November 7th. Okay, if there's no questions, it's democracy is not cheap. That's $100,000, but you know, geez, Louise, we do want vote. You know, we do want people to vote though. So. If there's no other questions, I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to approve resolution approving the interlocal agreement between Spanish Fork and Utah County 2023 elections.
Motion made by Councilman Argyle.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Beck. Roll call vote. Councilman Cardon?
Yes.
Councilman Argyle?
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck?
Yes.
Item C is approved. Takes us to item D. Resolution approving 2022 Municipal Wastewater Planning Program Self-Assessment. Mr. Jared Johnson. Heavy on the Mr.
What's that?
Heavy on the Mr. when it's Jared Johnson. It's Mr. Johnson.
So each year the state requires us to do a self-assessment of our wastewater treatment plant and our actual facilities, the collection facilities. This assessment identifies areas that need to be replaced, areas that need to be rebuilt, just a general description of what needs to be done to keep our system so it doesn't go into any failures. And so over the years, we've noticed that our treatment plant's needing to be rebuilt, so we're rebuilding that now. We've got a capital facilities plan, replacing all the lines that need to be replaced in town, and this identifies areas of town that have concrete lines that are maybe eroding away that we have to replace. We've done some of them, so we haven't found anything that would put us into a serious situation, but we are addressing all the ones that we find that need to be done. So,
Perfect.
have any questions?
Any questions for Jared on this? Okay. Self-assessment of a municipal wastewater planning program, pretty important thing, because we don't want wastewater if we can avoid it, right?
We ran out of duct tape, so we got to build a new plant.
So it's time to build a new plant. Okay, if there's no questions for Jared, I would entertain a motion on item D.
I move to approve the resolution approving 2022 Municipal Wastewater Planning Program MWPP self-assessment.
Motion made by Councilman Cardon, seconded by Councilwoman Beck. A roll call vote. Councilwoman Beck?
Yes.
Councilman Cardon?
Yes.
Councilman Argyle?
Yes.
Item D is approved. Takes us to item E, Utah County 2000 East US 6 Connection Agreement. Really quick, back to D. The date, 2025, for the wastewater treatment plant to be complete? So we're
Yeah,
estimating.
2025. The completion date's May of 2025. That's substantial completion, and then operational in July or August.
Gotcha, okay. Exciting, not the most visited thing unless you're Seth Perrin's taking youth groups there, but.
Just wait, the weather will get better, go down there when it's not so muddy.
Okay, there you go. All right, thank you. Item E.
Item E is an agreement with Utah County. 2000 East US 6 connection is a MAG project. We were selected to receive funding this was phase 1. We've already constructed this. We were selected to receive funding to do phase 2 in 2025. The reason why we're taking this agreement sooner is so we can start working on the design and right-of-way acquisition. by state and federal regulations, we can't start talking to the property owners or do right-of-way acquisition or anything like that until the agreements are in place. So that's why this agreement's coming so soon, and that way when we get the funds available, we can get paid back for any funds that we've spent, and we can just move right onto the project. We've done that on similar projects, kind of like Spanish Fork Parkway. We've been working on that for years, and the money actually became available this year. So we've been working on it for 2 or 3 years.
Long time. It's a big deal. If the residents are watching this and seeing that map, that's going to be a change in Spanish Fork, seeing a light, another light on Highway 6.
Another access.
Yeah. Yeah, another access into these subdivisions as well, right?
Yep.
Maybe slow down Highway 6 a little?
Yeah, so is there any indication, maybe you're not a traffic engineer, but you could play one on television tonight?
I'll try.
Oh, he's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, Highway 6 and Center Street is a tough place. It's where our crews are called out quite often. And this looks to be about splitting the difference between the two lights.
It's right in the center.
Is it? So maybe people can't get clear up to the 75 mile an hour speed when they're coming down Highway 6?
It should slow things down.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's going to make another dangerous intersection, because it's another intersection that's controlled by a street light, but it should slow traffic down on US 6. So.
People get zoomy there.
Huh?
They get quick there.
Yeah, they get quick from that light. It seems like it's a race from, if you stop at that other light, like, hey, who can get down to the next light quicker? And then there's people left-hand turning across Cut Bridge there that is just, that's one that scares me all the time. So.
You cross it a lot.
And I cross it quite a bit, yep. Thank you, Jared. Any other questions from Mr. Johnson on this one? If not, I'd entertain a motion for item E.
Motion to approve Utah County 2000 East US 6 connection agreement.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Argyle, seconded by Councilman Cardon. Roll call vote. Councilman Cardon?
Yes.
Councilman Argyle?
Yes.
And Councilwoman Beck?
Yes.
That passes. Takes us to item F, Spanish Fork Parkway, Phase 2, change order number 1.
Yeah, so this is the project I was just talking about. It's another MAG project. So we received the funding this year and the actual agreement with the railroad. But we've been working on this project for years now, and we put the project out to bid before we had the agreement with the railroad, with anticipation that we were going to receive that. We didn't have the numbers from the railroad or the costs that were going to be associated with the actual crossing. So what we put out to bid was the road and everything leading up to the road. Once we got the agreement, we've worked with Kilgore to get a price with them to construct the actual crossing for the railroad. And that's what you have before you is a change order for those improvements. So this is everything that's within the railroad right away.
So Kilgore will be doing that?
Kilgore will do everything except for the actual track. The track itself is built by the railroad. They'll place the panels, they'll place everything, but all the conduits, all the concrete, everything leading right up to the tracks, the asphalt and everything will be done by Kilgore.
Okay.
And they'll work with the railroad for us. So, but there's an agreement in place for us to actually be able to do it.
Nothing to do with the agreement. How are things looking over there?
It's coming along. We anticipate we'll be done, the completion date's August 6th with Kilgore. Now, that's not the completion date with the railroad, but the railroad, we've met with them on other projects, and we've actually got a great working relationship with them now, thanks to Mike, Mayor Mendenhall. But I was just meeting with them this last week, and they said that if we get them a date when Kilgore's ready for it, they'll have the equipment there. So if Kilgore can get ready, like they say, by the first part of July, we should be able to open that crossing.
That would
July.
be nice.
Wow.
It's all up to the railroad. If they can get the supplies there, our contractor's committed to get it done. So right now, we're putting all the utilities in, all the electrical, all the underground, the casings. There's a lot of dirt to move, and then a lot of work's being done on the SR 51 or the state highway.
Yeah.
We'll put a signal in there too. So you'll see it in probably about May is when you're going to start things really moving. All the ground.
There's a lot of
groundwork.
dirt now there that look.
But there's a lot moving right now. They were pouring cement for the signal today, and
Yeah, there's a lot moving. I'm just saying you're going to see a better progress.
More substantial.
Right now,
It'll look like it's going to be done.
right now it looks perfect for like Councilman Marshall to do another swan dive face first in rodeo mud, because that's what it's turned into over there. But it's a lot of earth moving on both sides of that track, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Very good. Union Pacific reached out in town. Did you see that email? Next week after? I want to talk about the progress of this and stuff. So good work on that relationship, Jared. It's been a long time coming, and I think I mentioned this to the Rotary last week too, but I think all of us try to mention this in the traffic discussions that we get, and we realize it, we live it with you, but this one will certainly help Spanish Fork Parkway and getting people from the east side, specifically Mapleton and Spanish Fork's east side, to be able to get down to where they're shopping without coming down 4th North all the way. It's a big deal.
Oh, yeah, it's a long time coming, so.
Yeah, it'll be great.
And there's a lot of homes in Legacy Farms now that, holy cow, it's not just Mapleton, it's another city in Legacy Farms up there, so getting
Well,
those.
This also should turn the track into a quiet zone. I know that's one thing. 4th North won't be, but the existing crossing that we shut down along with this crossing are both this one's being built as a quiet zone, and then the one that we're actually removing will be removed, so they won't have a crossing there.
Tell us.
They still honk at the
Sure.
crossing,
Sure.
so they have to until they officially close up.
Okay. Good for the residents that live by there.
I don't, just get the crossing done. I don't care if it's dirt or mud, whatever, I'll drive
Say
down.
Chad's gonna lead the crew through it the first time.
We remember looking at that on a map before, and Chad says, "Oh yeah, I crossed right there." Like, you're not supposed to cross right there, Chad. But yeah, this will be an official crossing there. So
Go.
very good. Okay, if there's no more questions on this item, I'd entertain a motion for item F.
Should we include the date of opening
Well, what's the, August 6th?
I thought I said July 1st.
That's the contract, August 6th, so.
Motion to approve Spanish Fork Parkway Phase 2, Change Order 1.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Argyle, seconded by Councilman Cardon. Roll call vote. Councilwoman Beck.
Yes.
Councilman Argyle.
Yes.
And Councilman Cardon.
Yes.
That's approved. That's a big deal. Thanks for all the good work on it.
Mayor, may I just highlight something here real fast, that sometimes change orders have a bad name. You know, we don't like them because it's a change. But I want to commend Jared and his staff for this maybe creative way of keeping this project moving forward, doing some things when we know we can, knowing that we can't get it all, but waiting until we can get it all sometimes slows us down. And this has been a very, very big priority for all of us, and this has been a very big priority for Jared the last couple of years, and he's been diligently, creatively, maybe even ingeniously trying to find ways to just eke it along as fast as slowly will be allowed. And he's done a good job, and that kids will be able to cross here, parents will be able to cross here for school will be a big deal.
Yeah.
And access points make the world better. The more access points you have, the safer other places become, right? So I just want to commend Jared, even though change orders, like I said, are sometimes a bad word. This was a really creative way to keep it moving forward and gain some momentum before we would have all of the approvals, and so good work.
Yeah, would usually give you a harder time for $2.5 million change order.
It's only 300,000.
Oh, yeah, 341,000.
Project's $2.5 million,
Yeah,
so.
yeah. But yes, the democracy's not cheap, and neither is railroad crossings, I can tell you that. But it is a good way of putting it, Seth. That's keeping the ball moving here and getting it done for the citizens. That's great. It must be the day of the road work here in the council meeting, because the next one is a big
another
deal
big
too.
change order.
Yeah, I'm kind of,
is
I'm
another big change
overusing the big deal word, right? But this is a big deal.
Well, we started this
Color roads.
project
Yeah.
on the south side of US 6, and when we widened 8th North and 8th East and rebuilt that intersection. So this was all funded by MAG, and we had extra funds, so we went back to MAG and said, let's use the extra funds and widen this side of the road, They agreed to that. While we were doing that, Target announced they were coming, so we immediately expanded the project to include a signal here. That project was the original project for the $1.5 million or $1.3 million to, whoop, did I do that? Sorry. So we expanded that project to include that signal. While we were doing that, we've done traffic studies, and this is warranted as well for safety, all the traffic congestion in this area, in the shopping areas. So we moved this project to design this intersection as well. The change order you have is actually to install the signal. We chose to add it to this project as a change order because of timing. We can get the signal done this spring if we do it, and we're only paying $220,000 on a signal. That's cheap.
How much is it normally?
That's dirt cheap. I mean, that's $130,000 cheap. So that's right here. So
Next project.
if we would have bid this project out, we had in the budget close to $500,000 to be safe. That includes the design, but we anticipated that was going to be $350,000. That's what UDOT will say a signal will cost. That's what we planned for. So $220 is a great price. They don't have to remote. They're right on site. Cache Valley's working with Kenny Singh to get things done. They've got, Kenny Singh has Cache Valley on board to do it. We bidded it out. We wouldn't get it built till October. So all the other signals we have bid in town, they're not going to be up as running as fast as this one. The other part of the project, it'll be another change order that's going to come through. We're actually going to rebuild and add that lane back, or add a lane to this road here and bring that dedicated right back in. But that's going to happen in April. Tyler said he'd have it done by May 15th.
This May 15th,
Tyler Shepherd, Kenny Singh.
like soon, like a couple months,
Sorry, what's that?
like in a couple months, this
Yeah,
May.
this will be done. This will all be done July, every bit of it. So, if not, call Tyler.
Yeah,
Most of it at Target's done. It just, they're setting that
This
line
steel's
already.
up.
Yeah.
We're not, we just can't open
Yeah.
it until we get the
Yep.
road paved and the lane striped. So the steel's up. The steel's ordered on this and being powder coated, but it's not up.
It's also why it can't be 55 forever, Seth. We got to pour some, there's got to be asphalt done in places.
But they'll make it at 55.
We need it at 55, right? Or what's the temperature? 60?
I thought you were talking about speed.
The plants really won't open till about April 15th anyways.
No, people
I'll give
come
you 60.
down here.
I'll give you 64. It's once you get to 70, it just comes down. So you don't want to get to 70. 65. Let's
Yeah, we need the
compromise.
temperatures to come right up so we can get the paving done,
But we don't
make
need
the
the
other
water.
crews a little busy.
Yeah. This was discussed in our traffic,
Roadshow?
yeah, roadshow. Yeah,
Nick's famous traffic
Yeah.
roadshow.
yeah, it was good. Good stuff. Anything else, Jared, we need to know about this?
Nope, the change order you're approving is just for this signal. We'll be back for another change order anticipated for the other side of the road, but it's in a different budget, so
Okay.
you really are saving about $200,000 without us spending it.
It's pretty good salesman right there, Jared. Yeah, good work. This is a big deal, too. If there's no questions, more questions for Jared, I'd entertain a motion on this item.
I move to approve the expressway lane widening at US 6 change order 1 guaranteed maximum price adjustment.
Second?
Motion made by Councilman Cardon, seconded by Councilwoman Beck. Roll call vote. Councilman Cardon?
Yes.
Councilman Argyle?
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck?
Yes.
Item G is approved. Takes us to H, U.S. Bureau of Reclamation Letter of Support for the Conversion of Strawberry Valley Project Water.
Thank you. This one is actually very complex, and I will not wade into the waters of complexity.
Water.
Thanks, Chad. As you read through the letter, this is what we're asking for you as a council to do is give the mayor your support as he signs this letter of conversion for Strawberry Valley Project Water. simplifying it is far more than really it should be. The issues surrounding the conversion of water in the Strawberry Valley project, that's water that comes out of the Strawberry Reservoir, down through pipes, rivers, and into farms and into cities, has become, through the years, very burdensome for everybody. And in fact, we've created a lot of confusion through the community as different rules or regulations by irrigation companies or by the Bureau have been interpreted and enforced. And working in conjunction with the Strawberry Water Users Association and several other municipalities, as indicated on this letter that the mayor would sign together with Payson and Salem cities, we have worked out some arrangements and need some assistance from the federal government. So this is you as a council saying, Mayor, sign this and we support you in sending this letter that will ease some of the bureaucratic processes. This doesn't take away water from the agricultural uses, but it does allow for easier conversion for those that want to convert it. And there are times and reasons where conversion should happen, maybe even must happen, and it is very, very difficult. So working together with the Strawberry Water Users Association, we have identified a good path forward and now would ask for your support in the mayor signing this letter.
Thank you, Seth. Any questions for Seth on this one? I've said it a couple of times already tonight, but this is a big deal too. This is, everything's a big deal. But yeah, the Strawberry Valley project and it as a whole is a big deal for our whole area. If you have an extra 5 hours of your life, you can talk to John Mendenhall about it. He'll tell you. You probably heard it, right, Councilman Cardin?
Love it.
Yeah, but this is a letter of support with the other mayors of South Utah County to be able to convert that water when people want to convert that water. So
A lot of good things happening.
good things happening, and like I already mentioned in my council comments, good meetings. I think the feelings between cities and Strawberry Water Users Association is as good as they've ever been right now. There's some other things that we're doing in conjunction and correlation with each other, and these are good people, good board members of that organization that love what they do. Some of them farm and have a big history in this valley, and that relationship is as good as it's ever been. So we appreciate them and appreciate them being at the same table and all of us together solving water issues. It's not a year that we should have water issues except too much of it, but we live in a desert and this is a big deal. Okay. I think I probably overstated the letter, but there's item H. If there's no questions, I'd entertain a motion to have me sign that letter with the other mayors.
I'll go ahead and move to approve the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation letter to support the conservation of Strawberry Valley project water.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Beck, seconded by Councilman Cardin. Roll call vote here. Councilman Argyle.
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck.
Yes.
And Councilman Cardin.
Yes.
Perfect. Item H is approved. Takes us to item I, 1172 South Main Real Estate Purchase Agreement. Mr. Tyler Jacobson.
Mayor, this is a big deal.
This is a big deal?
This is a big deal.
Okay. This is the night of big deals.
So, in the last council meeting, we talked about a contract to purchase the property located just north of the property that we're going to talk about tonight. There's a property at 1172 South Main that we've now contracted with the property owner to purchase, and we're seeking your approval to solidify that contract. This would help us to have the ability to expand the sports park. Just as a reminder, we purchased this property here at the very top of the screen from the Bradfords last year. And I think in the last meeting, Seth pointed out that we will soon be demolishing this and also be taking some of the trees down in this area. So if you live down there and are wondering what's going on, that's what's happening. But this will make it so that the city owns all of this land here. At least all of it's under contract right now. There's still some things in those contracts that need to happen before we close on some of the properties, but this would be the final contract there. Any questions on that?
Is this home vacant?
Is it what?
Vacant.
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not sure. I know that the owners had a renter in there at one time, at least as recent as a few months ago, but I'm not sure if it's vacant now.
Okay. Get these homes tore down.
Don't make sure there's nobody in them when we tear them down.
Yeah, we can't
Chad's
tear them down
asking.
quite that fast. There's a couple of protocols that we do have to follow, but they're on.
There's reasons
I
why
know,
I say that. Please. Yeah.
Chad's gonna leave
The Bradford
cars
home
down.
should come back. That should start next week.
Good.
Yeah, once we can get in and do some
needs to.
different tests, asbestos tests and things like that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, don't wait till they move out. I'm okay with that.
We will.
Dale, your Parks and Rec board is excited about this. They've heard about tying up all the properties on South Main here?
Absolutely.
They're gung-ho?
It's a big deal.
Okay. It's a big deal.
Really big deal.
Okay. This one's a big deal, too.
Kevin and Shane aren't here tonight for all these big deals.
Yeah, they've missed the big deal meeting, yep. I'd entertain a motion on item I that's a big deal.
Motion to approve 1172 South Main Real Estate Purchase Agreement.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Argyle, seconded by Councilwoman Beck. Roll call vote here. Councilwoman Beck.
Yes.
Councilman Argyle.
Yes.
And Councilman Cardon.
Yes.
Item I is approved. We was told no closed session, no need to go into closed session.
No closed session. If I may just bring up a thought, this isn't on the agenda and I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it. And with you being a smaller than full body, I want to just prep you for, we need to get some thoughts from you on your meetings regarding the inland port. And any concerns that you want us to continue to research, pros and cons and different things like that. The staff, I think we've taken the issue in studying it as far as we can, and now need to have more discussions with you in terms of your desires and resolve to either go in the VERC project area as a CRA or do it as an inland port project. And I'd like to have some of those conversations with you before maybe you start to lose some of the thoughts or questions that you may
Geez,
have.
I'm already losing.
Yeah, you're a little foggy, aren't you?
I'm like, you're asking this in public when my thoughts are foggy.
Well, and I don't want you to spend a lot of time, we don't need to spend a lot of time on it tonight, but I would love for you to be mindful of what those thoughts are.
So Mayor and I met with them in Salt Lake. Has everyone else met with them now? Okay.
Yeah, Chad and Jesse, Kevin and Shane met in 2 different meetings
Okay.
on Friday, I think it was.
Sounds really good. I like what I heard and seen. The only question I have after I left, and I think I asked this in the meeting, and I don't know that I got, the impact to our citizens. When we start this, we're obviously going to change, instead of an RDA area, we're going to have I don't even know what we're going to call it.
It would be an
Inland Port area?
Yeah, inland port authority area,
Authority,
something
yeah.
like that, yeah.
Will that go with property taxes of our community raising, or that will just be the taxes, will work similar like the RDA? It'll use those taxes that are going to be generated, but we're going to borrow some money up front. How's that payment going to be made? Because this land is not, right now it's farmland essentially.
For sure.
Yeah, I guess I didn't understand. If we go to them and they help us do this and get this project done, where does that, if we borrow $10 million?
Yeah, so you've asked a couple of good questions, and let me break them into 2 answers. First, this would function in many regards just like an RDA. So there are there are no new property taxes assessed because we do this. There certainly are no property taxes assessed outside of the project area to the rest of the residents. So it should, as far as property tax, there's no impact to anybody
citizens.
outside of the area. There could be something that happens within the project area and maybe to specific parcels depending on the funding tool that is used, but not, that is something that would be decided later, and that would be something called I think it's a public infrastructure district, a PID. But that happens to the parcels, that might happen only on the parcels that are using it. So that wouldn't affect even all of the properties within the project area,
So,
just those that wanted it.
so essentially, we've already identified, and if we've got some people coming in, our goal would be to get our utilities to their front door, essentially.
Pretty much, yeah.
Where in the past, we kind of, a development does this, they do through and through, and they build to the next, and then the next as we build out. But this here, because of the size and the scope of it, does not have our utilities. So
Right.
this will be to get utilities there that maybe when they come knocking on our door, we're all ready, then we can say, yes.
Yeah, it's ready to go. And
Right.
and probably the biggest reason why I think we would want to use the port, this is maybe one of the, in the pro column, if you will, why would we want to do this, is the inland port does have, as they've talked about, I think in some of the, in probably each of the meetings that you had, but they talked about some of the different financing tools that they have. And so we can leverage their infrastructure bank dollars and use that to back the loans rather than, say, the property taxes of the project area.
Okay.
You can use that to seed some of the payments for the first few years where you don't have cash flow coming in because the properties haven't developed, and so the property taxes aren't, the increment hasn't been created, if you will. So using or doing a joint venture with the port does allow us a few other financing tools that we simply don't have in our
Right now.
RDA.
Access to.
Yeah.
And I forgot about that, because, yeah, they do have access to money now, right?
Yeah, their infrastructure bank and their ability to be that financing tool. I think they said over and over again, a lot of times they might be viewed as this or that, whereas in Spanish Fork, really they would be a financing tool. They would be a tool that we could use that we just don't have otherwise.
I like what I heard.
I like, out of all the things that I remember, is the financial
Yeah.
gain for us.
We had a meeting with representatives from the school district as they're affected by this, right, with the CRA, with an RDA project, the other taxing entities, school district, the county, and other taxing districts have to opt in, whereas if we go through the port, they don't get to opt in or out, they just are in. That's part of the legislative action that created the port a few years ago. But we have a good relationship with the school district, and we had, I think, a very robust discussion with the school district in the meeting that we had, and they were able to ask questions, and they asked really good, very pointed, very direct questions. And the port executive director and a few of the staff were able to specifically answer those questions. And because of, I think, a lot of the legwork that we have done, first working on our CRA and what that could look like, then kind of transitioning to this port concept, would you describe it maybe this way, Dave? We're getting the port will be functioning differently for us than maybe they had conceived of functioning in before, maybe only because they hadn't been asked yet. But we're helping them to maybe plow new ground in how they can function. And they were fairly responsive. I know you weren't in all of the meetings, but you caught some of them. They were very responsive to questions and concerns that the Nebo School District posed, and I believe they were able to answer or at least satisfactorily answer all of their concerns. They may not have loved all the answers, but they were able to get to the answers that they got and able to understand. I think was really, really productive for the school district. We haven't yet set them up, but we're planning to have similar meetings with county commissioners so that they can understand. I believe this will be the first for them in Utah County. It may not be the last, but the first for them, so that education will be helpful for them as well.
Is there other cities that's on board already doing this?
Not in Utah County. Yeah, Cedar, Iron
Iron
County,
County.
Cedar City
Okay.
is doing something. I believe they're kicking that port project off in April.
Okay.
And so they're just moving down that path already, and we'll have a project started for Iron County. And I know that they've been talking with a few other cities. I don't believe any in Utah County, but spread a lot all across Utah, which it's kind of neat for them to be able to take those tools to far-reaching places in this.
There's nothing being discussed in the state. That's the potential of what exists in Spanish Fork.
Yeah. So, in case they didn't hear that, this project is a big deal to reaffirm a theme of today.
Is there anything tonight that's not been a big deal?
The whole agenda is a big deal tonight.
Ending by 8 is a big deal.
That is the biggest deal.
Just so the public knows, and you've seen maps that we've been talking about this, but I think Councilman Argyle has said it a few times out in the northwest area of Spanish Fork, and you see those big industrial buildings pop up. That's the area that we're talking about, not residential, projects and different things, but the reason why you're talking taxing entities are trying to get services to that area is because of, like Dave alluded to, the readiness of that area as far as properties that have been locked up, properties that are already being built, and for our community, what that means is big jobs, big industrial players that really do complement a community, not just for a tax base, right? To help out with
Jobs.
Yeah, but jobs. I mean, jobs. These are people that will live down here and work in the northwest area of Spanish Fork rather than maybe traveling on the freeway for 30 or 50 miles and working in similar places, right?
Of course, they would ride the train, though.
If they rode up there, they would ride the train. That's right.
Drive, yes.
Yeah,
Of course.
and you'd see them on the train, right, Chad?
Yes, I would.
Yeah,
It's kind of a big deal.
it's kind of a big deal.
Any concerns or things that we can maybe research? Anything that you left at any of your meetings where you want us to?
I think they were pretty clear they answered all our questions. Me and Kevin was there, I felt like. Pretty good, but.
So the next big step is we have a resolution that we need to put together that basically invites the port to come into Spanish Fork. And that would then start a process for them, and they would eventually have a public meeting, public hearing, and would eventually accept this as a port project. The details matter. So all the things I think, maybe piggybacking off of what Chad just said, they answered all of our questions well. Talk is cheap, right? Contracts are more important.
Contract.
Yeah, and I don't doubt that they'll honor everything that they've shared with us, as we've talked through this many, many times. But that really becomes the next most important thing, and we can begin working on that in earnest. We talked about a possible date for them if we can start working on some of the details through the month of April, having a resolution before you, the first council meeting in May. Then that would start a timeline for them where I think they said they would probably be able to create the port area sometime in June, July at the very latest. Is that right?
Probably for July to be safe.
Okay. I thought we'd outlined August, and they're like, that we can get faster than that. Well, but they said that they could be faster than what we were projecting. So anyways, we would propose then to do a little bit of work with them on the details and on some of the language through April so that we can have a resolution for you to review and consider for approval at the first meeting in May.
And kind of going with what you were saying, what I heard them tell us is basically anything is possible as long as we put it in a contract and tie their hands.
Yeah.
And maybe not those exact words. So
No, I think that's a great way to say
that's,
it. Yeah.
Important that we have Vaughn and whomever is working on that, make sure that we tie their hands in the right places.
Yeah, the state law gives them parameters to work this way, and we want them to work only in here, right? And so we just need to restrict them back, and they're comfortable with that.
Yeah.
And so we can contract with them to be how we want to be.
And then at that point, would we start identifying what needed to be done? Or is
Yeah.
that already, are we
Yeah,
already
yeah,
doing that?
We're doing that right now.
every day, okay.
Yeah, and specifically, it's utilities associated with
Right.
power, water, sewer,
Yeah.
right, our utilities.
When you say public hearing, would they have public hearings at the port in congruence with
No, I
our
think
public, or do we have public hearings?
They would have a board meeting, and if I remember right, I think they said they bring it here. They
Oh.
would hold their board meeting here,
Okay.
right?
I honestly don't know. We can certainly find out. I don't know if they hold a public hearing or not.
They do hold a public
Something
hearing.
like
They do
that.
hold a public hearing, but I think they
thought they had two.
they might have been two, and one of them they would want to do here.
Yeah, they do their first one wherever, and then their second one they bring
Yeah,
here. I think is what they
that's
said.
what I recall, something like that. So that's what they're doing in Cedar City. They're one of their next board meetings is.
Making it a celebration is what
Yeah.
they said.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Does that help, Seth?
Yeah, thank you.
Discussion, any other discussion? Just
Good, thank
be ready, residents. We'll discuss this in more public meetings, in public hearings in the spring here, but,
Yeah, and depending on what questions Vaughn and Dave or I have as we're working on some of the details, maybe we'll put this on as a discussion item for one of the first or second meeting in April, just so we get some of those details right for that meeting in May. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that feedback. Good.
very good.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made by Councilman Argyle, seconded by Councilwoman Cardon to adjourn. Roll call vote. Councilman Cardon?
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck?
Yes.
Councilman Argyle?
Yes.
We're adjourned. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Just after 8, Nick.
Shelley, do you want to say anything?
Almost.